So welcome to Taking Charge of My Cancer podcast. I am Derly Munoz, your host, and I'm so excited to have a very special guest with us today, Julia Osborn in my podcast. Julia is a physical therapist from South Africa, and believe it or not, she was my first mentor 13 years ago when I started doing oncology rehab. So it's a pleasure for me to have her here. I have learned so much from her and still do. I just actually took a 4-day course from her this past weekend. So, Julia, I wanted to welcome you and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Derly, and what a wonderful introduction. And it's an honor to do this work with you, and it's an honor to be on this podcast with you this afternoon. So thank you.
Okay, perfect. So you want to tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. Well, I am a physical therapist, and I got my training in South Africa. I then moved to the United States, and I along the way, founded a company called Oncology Rehab, which is really my passion. I think in life, we often try to find, meaning through our work. And I am just incredibly fortunate in that I found tremendous meaning in working with the oncology patient population. And as such, in 2009, I founded my company, Oncology Rehab, and I have spent, all these dedicated years trying to really make this company successful and work for patients.
Excellent. Very great. And so, Julia is actually the owner of PORi, right? Which is how do you is the oncology, right? Founder of Oncology Rehab. And she is been expanding quite a bit. Actually, as I was listening to other podcasts, I hear some people who is like PORi certified. So you do some certification for oncology. And it's amazing out there as I'm listening more and more podcasts, how people you've been training and having really great results with what you do. So thank you for that.
Yes, you're welcome. Go ahead.
Okay. Were you always planning to do this?
No, not at all. This was a right turn in my life. And so, when I qualified as a physical therapist a number of years ago in South Africa, I really had a strong interest in pain management. And I did this really in relation to sports injuries. I think many people who graduate physical therapy school want to be a sports injury specialist, and I thought that's what I wanted to do as well. So I really focused my energy on that in my initial years. And shortly after I moved to Denver, Colorado in 2002, I received a patient with a breast cancer diagnosis on my schedule on a given day. And I will say, Durley, that I had a moment of panic because I'd never treated an oncology patient before. This was all the way back in 2002.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, well, okay, let's see what happens. And so she arrived and she said, I am so grateful that you are willing to see me. She said, I cannot tell you how difficult it's been to find a physical therapist who is willing to step into treating oncology.
Yeah.
And in that
Pressure.
moment, I had this sort of epiphany that in the world of rehab, we didn't do very much treatment for patients with an oncological diagnosis. And so she really brought that to light for me. And she also gave me my very first lesson in understanding breast cancer and all the treatment that everybody goes through. And so she arrived being very grateful to me. And I ended up with her departing and feeling immensely grateful to her for what she had shown me that day, what she taught to me that day, and what she brought to light. And so I went home that evening and began to research oncology rehabilitation, realized that there was a need for this in our field. And so that was the day I took the right turn.
Oh,
And
wow.
I literally walked away from sports orthopedics and moved my life into oncology. And it's been my life's work for the last 21 years, 22 years, I should say.
Wow. Wow. That's a great story.
Yep. So
So
that's what happened.
yeah, so with that, what will be like three valuable tips that you have learned through your journey that you can, share with our audience?
Sure. Well, with that, I would say number one, expect the unexpected. The unexpected will always happen. And we have to work out in life how to be flexible around that. Um, that day is a great example. It was a very unexpected experience for me, and it changed my life. And so you never know what can happen when you can kind of be prepared in the back of your mind to expect the unexpected. And this can manifest obviously in many different ways in our journeys, in our lives. Sometimes it could lead to really good things, and sometimes it can be distressing and difficult. But being flexible around the unexpected, I think, is really, for me, one of the key survival strategies of life. The second is, once you set up, I feel, a belief or a mission. So, in the context of what we're talking about today, oncology rehabilitation, I set up my mission, 20 years ago, and then subsequently as I opened Oncology Rehab, my mission was to be able to provide rehabilitative care and treatment to all patients with a cancer diagnosis. And the idea is to be able to do this nationally throughout the United States and internationally, which is why I have my teaching company as well as my clinical company where we do the treatment. And the patient is at the core of all of this. But back to the tips, believing in the mission and really having the confidence that it's right and to keep pushing through no matter the trials, the tribulations, the barriers, some of the difficulties that can happen along the way, because the reality is in life, our pathways are never as simple as we hope them to be.
Correct.
But if you believe with your heart in the mission and you never lose that focus, it'll help you navigate all the forks in the road and all the different things that you have to go around to continue to fulfill that purpose. So that would be my second tip. And my third tip is really the importance of self-care, which I'm chuckling ever so slightly because that just seems such like a catchphrase for today, self-care. But it really is profoundly important because it helps all of us, no matter what our life circumstances are. It helps us balance the challenges with the health and wellness that we need to continue to keep active in our lives. And some days that is just extremely difficult. And on other days, it seems incredibly easy. But I really believe that friendships, family, close bonds with family, are extremely important for handling life's diversities, life's, difficulties, let me
Uh-huh.
say,
Mhm.
and challenges. So family, friends, and then putting yourself in different environments from time to time, just creating a change can be incredibly refreshing. And
Great.
so that's where that phrase comes in, change is as good as a holiday. It's true. So anyway, those are my three tips
That's
for
I like that.
doing this.
Great. How about your most painful lesson going through this journey of treating oncology patients?
My most painful lesson would have to be around loss. And of course, one's mind immediately goes towards, death. But in fact, there are many moments, painful moments along the way. Loss can be just the fact that somebody has really experienced a loss of their health, a loss of their trust in their body to keep them healthy. It could be the loss of a body part because of surgery or the loss of function. So that's what's painful, is loss. And of course, ultimately, if death is part of that, then yes, very. Um, and so, I think what's really been important is balancing it with the joy of the day-to-day achievements, the joy of the day-to-day successes, the joy of the day-to-day human relationships, all of these things that can still exist whilst there is this other kind of track happening in the background. And I think, that's been important. So, just to expound on that just a tiny bit more, my patient relationships have been just extremely important, and I have gone through loss with almost every single patient, but we've also captured joy and friendship and the essence of life with every single patient, and really worked at what is meaningful to each person, because at the end of the day, that's what we have. No matter what happens to us, we still have our spirit. We still have the essence of who we are. And that spirit and that essence of who we are wants to constantly come out and be present in our world and in our realm. And so it's a matter of continuing to sort of pull that out amidst the loss. But still, the loss is painful.
Got you. Yes. And I think I kind of feel you with that. I remember when I started doing this, I was kind of having a bit similar background than you, from Colombia, very strong in sports medicine, manual therapies, orthopedics. And yeah, was landing to this oncology world, which I have no idea. And one of my things was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle this, right? It's like I feel like I really, number one, don't know much about oncology. Number two, I don't know if I'm going to be depressed. I don't know if how I'm going to handle this. I'm like a baby. Like I cry listening to a Johnson and Johnson baby commercial, like I'm not going to be a good support for people if they don't feel well. And when I start shadowing some of my colleagues here doing oncology, I totally fall in love with this population. And that's how I found you, was because like I need to go and do some really good course in oncology. And at that point you were teaching with the Northwest seminars. And it's like, oh, here is something about advanced oncology in Connecticut. And that's when I met you for the first time. And that was like awesome. Like you totally sold me. It's like, oh my God, this is so much I need to learn to be able to really serve this population as much as I can. But you're right, the same thing happened. Like, sometimes I cry with patients, and sometimes, it's a box of Kleenex for each one of us. And sometimes I become a little bit more like, not crying as much anymore, and try to be more their support in all those things, not necessarily on the loss of, losing a patient, which that was really hard the first time that happened, but as well, like, another new diagnosis and a metastasis, a new recurrence, all those kind of things that you're like, really, come on, why is this happening? So definitely, I can totally see that.
Yes. Agreed. And, you did, as you were sort of expressing some of what you've just shared, I, I want to share that oncology patients are the most inspirational people to.
Totally. Totally.
So, because each individual has such determination to overcome, and the privilege to be a rehab therapist, to be a physical therapist, and draw alongside somebody to help them be successful in whatever capacity to overcome, to fulfill that drive that they have to achieve and to continue to put pieces of life back in place is so incredible. And that's what fuels my fire every single day.
Yep, I totally agree with that. Is anything that you have that will be of value for our audience? And would you like to share it with us?
Anything that I have that would be of value. I think what I have is a lot of experience in this realm. What I don't have is my own cancer. So I do want to say that to the audience. But what I do have is the gift of speaking to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people along the way who have cancer. And that while this is difficult, and the journey is first of all unexpected, and secondly just immensely overwhelming and impactful, there are people who are available to help support the journey, and seeking those out would be really, really important. So what I have is an ability to provide opportunity to live through this disease process successfully. And the way I do that is I have a clinical practice that, yes, is in the United States, but I have an educational element to my business that teaches rehabilitation therapists around the world how to do this. And so there is opportunity. So that's what I have, some experience and some opportunity for the oncology patient to take control to the best of their ability and have a chance at living with this disease in parallel, but living a very, very full life.
Awesome. That's great. How can people find you?
I have two websites. One is our clinical practice, www.oncologyrehab.net. So look that up. And we are in Denver, Colorado, and San Antonio, Texas. The second website is www.PORi, PORI.org, O-R-G. Look up on that website and you'll see that there's a little section called Find a Therapist. And you can go onto that page and type where you are anywhere in the country, if not the world, and it will pull up therapists, PTs, OTs, and speech language pathologists who've been trained in this methodology and who may be close to where you as a patient might live. And so that's how you can get hold of me, but also other therapists that might be able to help you locally where you live.
Perfect, perfect. And I will be putting that in the podcast, like so people can get access to that. So what would be like two books that would you recommend to our audience and why?
Well, the first book that comes to mind is called My Grandfather's Blessings. And this is written by Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen, who herself is a physician who treated oncology patients for a number of years. And the book is made up of short stories of her patient interactions that are just the most beautiful stories of, everything from strength and courage, but also sadness, reality, struggle, success, everything. She doesn't sugarcoat anything. But the reason she calls the book My Grandfather's Blessings is because her grandfather, he was a rabbi, and he believed in the power of human connection and that we are all connected. And what she really wanted to portray in her book was that as we provide blessings to each other as being human and in our human interactions, whether it is patient, doctor, or whatever it may be, that these blessings really help sort of heal the heart and fill a void in the emptiness and make people or allow people to feel that they're not alone. And so that's the essence that, she tries to portray in each of these stories, is this connection and the fact that nobody really needs to be alone or is alone. So I love that book. I highly recommend it to any practitioner, but also any patient. It's a beautiful, beautiful book, very well written. The second book is called The Power of One, written by Bryce Courtney, and it is actually a South African book, but it has just been very profound to me in my life. Without going into detail about the story, it's really about individual spirit and individual resilience in the face of adversity. And so, because it's set in South Africa, the adversity is sort of cultural as well as political, but it's about a little boy and how he grows up in this and how he finds his own individual strength, and believes in himself and kind of forges his pathway through trials and tribulations and setbacks and barriers. And I find it very inspirational. So those are my two books.
I'm gonna check them out. I'm doing a list right now from all these podcast recommendations. How about two movies?
Two movies. Okay. All right. My first movie is called The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel.
Yeah.
May be familiar to some people, but if not, I strongly recommend it. It's got Judi Dench, Maggie Smith, Dev Patel, Bill Nye in it, along with other actors and actresses. It's predominantly British, but I love it because it's a group of middle-aged to slightly sort of moving towards retirement age people, and they've all suffered adversity in their lives. They don't know each other, but they all decide that they want to take a trip independently, and their trip is to India, where there is this hotel called the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. And there's a brochure stating that it's, this beautiful resort. Anyway, they all meet at the airport and they strike up friendship. And the movie is about their journeys of adversity that bring them together on this trip and how they help each other heal. And they're a group of complete strangers.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it's an awesome movie. So I recommend that. And then the second one that comes to mind is Something's Gotta Give, which may create a little bit of an eye roll from a few people, I don't know, but it's really just a fun movie. It's got Jack Nicholson and Diane Keaton in it.
I love him. Yeah.
And again, it's a fun movie, but it actually really is about, being open to expect the unexpected. Diane Keaton portrays a woman who's very, set in her world, and she wears very specific clothing and she does everything very specifically every single day. And then this sort of unexpected experience occurs, and the fullness of who she is becomes realized through this. And I appreciate that. I like it.
That's nice. Is any question that you wish I have asked you that I didn't? And if you do, please, like, anything else you want to share for our audience? They're just going through this oncology journey or cancer journey, and any stage, can be at the time of diagnosis, during treatment, as a survivor. Is any major advice from an expert like you that you would do for them?
Yes. I guess, I'm going to say something else. It's a bit of a catchphrase, but never give up is really what I would have to say. So, you haven't asked me, Dorley, if I would ever want to give up. in terms of, some of the trials and tribulations of my own company and, what that's like and the difficulties every single day. And if you did ask me that, my answer would be no. I would not want to give up, although there are days that I feel tempted. And so to you, the patient out there are going to be days where you're going to feel tempted to give up. But don't. There's still so much life to live. And the best thing you can do for yourself in those moments is reach out to a family member or a friend, somebody whom you love and who loves you. And make sure that you have that support in place. And if you can't reach anybody, take a walk, do something different so that you can reconnect with everything around you to try to help you not to give up, because there are going to be some hard days, but keep going. And we're out here supporting you, batting for your success. Even if we haven't met, there are people like myself and Durley and several thousand other oncology rehabilitation specialists who want to help you. So don't give up, seek us out, and we will help you.
That's awesome. What's the best way to close this out? Well, it has been so much fun doing this with you, Julia. I really, really appreciate you being our special guest today. I'm sure that our audience really will enjoy this and learn a lot from you today. So I really appreciate it.
Well, Durley, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I just appreciate all the work that you do. Really, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Julia. You have a great day.
Yes, you too. All right.